We've just been talking there about the polls. Obviously, he's just been mentioning one that you did for us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, first thing to say, I mean, this is like Christmas for me. I'm so excited about this election, I tell you. Maybe not as excited as others about the likely outcome, but I'm excited about
this is on the
election.
screen, by the way. This
OK,
is
so look, if you look
at
the latest polling, what we've got Labour actually slightly down, consistent with the other national polls. We've got Labour being squeezed in the final days of the campaign. Reform 20% in second, Conservatives third, 16%. Just to say, Michelle, if you look at the final polls, they're actually pretty good for Reform. Opinion today have them on a record high of 17%. Lord Ashcroft has them 18%. The YouGov MRP poll suggests they're on course to win some seats. You just heard Chris Hope saying Nigel Farage thinks they will probably get in the region of 6 million votes. That's actually my guesstimate as well. I think as long as Farage gets elected and they win, you know, somewhere in the region of 6 million, 5, 6, 7 million votes, they get a bunch of second places, that's enough, basically. But all the final polls are all basically saying the same thing. Big Labour government, biggest majority that we've had, certainly since the beginning of the 20th century, and the worst Conservative result on record. Let's see. We're either going to get that or the biggest error in the history of the polling industry, in which case me and many other pollsters should pack up shop with our tails between our legs.
I'll shake your hand then before you leave tonight, just in case I never see you again, because you might have got it all wrong.
Yeah,
to kick you off.
I will leave social media instantly if that happens.
Aaron Bastani, what do you make to these polls?
Yeah, the 6 million is interesting because, of course, Nigel Farage doesn't want to commit to seats. That's far harder to guess. You've got to remember, in 2015, UKIP and the Greens between them got the best part of 5 million votes. They've got 2 MPs. So 6 million can actually leave you with very few people in Parliament. Looking at Matthew's polling just a moment ago, the Greens on 9%, Reform, what was it, on 20%?
Yeah.
That is 29% of the vote. And I'm not just saying this because they're the radical wings of politics. That is almost 1 in 3 voters going for those two parties, and they may get 4, 5 MPs, which would be utterly extraordinary. And I think you're right. If Farage wins, you'll immediately see a campaign, really, for electoral reform. But that's a big if. He would have done that, by the way, after 2015. The point was he didn't win a seat. So I think there are huge opportunities for disruption in British politics. They have been for a very long time. The point is, time after time after time, people like Farage, people like the Greens, can't actually get over that final hurdle and get into Parliament. This time looks like it will be different, but we don't know.
Well, people have got to turn out and vote. That is the thing. People have to, because I know there's a lot of politically disengaged people who I would definitely have put myself in the same bracket as you guys, so I'm certainly not knocking that. Trust me, I completely understand it. But there's an exciting opportunity to perhaps disrupt things, I think, in this election. Can
I just come in? Here's one thing to watch, and I agree with Aaron. I think we're both sort of on the outside, I guess, the Overton window, you might say, on some of these issues. Here's one thing to watch. The combined share of the vote for Labour and the Conservatives. I suspect that is going to finish somewhere around 55 to 60%. If that happens, that's going to be the lowest combined vote for the big two parties since the modern two-party system began. And that's a good sign, alongside things like Reform, the Greens, you know, support for smaller parties, that we've got a very restless, frustrated, angry electorate out there. Keep your eyes, too, on turnout. I suspect turnout might be low, perhaps as low as what we saw in 2001, 2005, somewhere around the 55, 60% range. Keep your eyes on that. And, of course, keep your eyes on how big that Reform vote's going to be. If it is 6, 7 million votes for one seat, I mean, that in itself is something of a political crisis, and I suspect that will drive these demands for some kind of electoral reform.